in the end.
In spite of WWF Raw's mixed reviews, it sold okay-ish, enough to reach platinum hits in North America. THQ saw this as a good thing, and a sequel was in order. 3 months after Raw released, it was announced that WWE Raw 2 was in development. It was announced to have 45 playable characters, new match types, backstage brawls, and many more improvements in regards to things like controls and create a superstar. Interesting note, this announcement mentioned several wrestlers who ended up not appearing in the game. Hollywood Hogan? Well, Hogan does appear, but not with the Hollywood gimmick. NWO? The storyline was wrapped up and some members like Scott Hall were released from the company before they got that far into development. Diamond Dallas Page? Already gone from the company after WWE set him up to fail. Interesting note, the FBI apparently has the Titantron and their music on the disc, but the group is nowhere to be found in the game for whatever reason. The game was scheduled for the first half of 2003 to be released, but that didn't happen. Later on in 2003, sometime around E3 that year, THQ outlined their schedule for their WWE games. They confirmed Raw 2 would release in fall of 2003. The E3 2003 pre-show further showed off more of the game and many new features like custom soundtracks. The game actually looked like a more complete and up-to-date version of WWF Raw. Alas, not much more to say. WWE Raw 2, sometimes subtitled Ruthless Aggression, was released exclusively on the original Xbox on September 15th, 2003 for North America, October 3rd, 2003 for Australia, and October 10th, 2003 for Europe. More complete and fun than its predecessors, WWE Raw 2 is a serious improvement over the original game. Let's see how. You'll notice right off the bat in the main menu, Raw 2 has many more modes of play than its predecessor. You have a quick start mode. This mode will let you select a wrestler you want to play as off the bat and just jump into a match in the Raw arena. If you want a more customized match, check out Exhibition mode. You've got more match types here than you do in Raw 1. In addition to the match types from the previous game, counting variants like Hardcore, you can now do street fights where the pin must happen in the ring, ladder, tables, TLC, cage, and Hell in a Cell matches. On the whole, it's got the major matches that fans love to see in real life and play in video games. It might not be a lot compared to what we see nowadays, but it's certainly more than Raw 1. You also have variants where applicable. Like, you can even do 6-man multi-man matches if you really wanted to. King of the Ring returns, but you can only do basic one-on-one matches as you fight your way to the title of King of the Ring. Technically Queen if you use a female wrestler, cause yeah. If you want to do specialty tournaments like tag and the like, you can use the game's dedicated tournament mode, which will give you more opportunities and customizations. Royal Rumble is now playable on Xbox for the first time here. You can actually adjust participants to be up to 74, but I don't think that's a good idea, because there's, well, not exactly that many wrestlers in the game, and even with a bunch of created wrestlers, well, I don't know. On top of that, you can't choose which number you want to enter at, you have to play from the start, which isn't ideal. But if you figure out the trick, you'll be fine. You have your standard create a superstar mode, and you can even create your own teams if you want, which is cool. Theater lets you view the game's credits / wrestlers' entrance videos, but you need to unlock those though. More on that later. The Hall of Fame lets you view your stats. These include things like playtime, how many times you played a certain match type, etc. The real crux of the game though is season mode. Yes, people, we actually have something that's not just an arcade-like mode to win a championship. You'll start in April after WrestleMania, well, X8, and you'll work your way to WrestleMania XIX 19. Season mode here actually has a lot going on. You can focus on your own matches and get yourself on the card, or you can interfere in others in an attempt to make allies. Be warned though, making enemies out of the wrong group of people will make your life hell on season mode. By being mindful at the right time, your spirit and popularity can adjust, as well as being able to fend off backstage attacks from enemies, you'll need to be on your toes. On the whole, season mode itself actually has quite a bit of substance and can keep you occupied for some time, though speed players can probably finish it in about 6 hours. Raw 2's gameplay isn't much different from Raw 1. or any other major wrestling game for that matter. You'll do much of the same thing you did in the last game. Use strikes and grapples in combination with other moves to take your opponent down. Right off the bat, you'll notice some differences. The voltage meter is no longer conducted via the tug-of-war nature of the last game. Instead, each character has their own meter. The meter starts off as a green calm line and continues to shift to a more reddish rapid line. When it's fully red and flashing and tells you to do your finisher, you can hit it then. Hopefully you'll hit it successfully and the meter will go back to green, but you won't likely need to rebuild it up. You'll just pin and win. More likely to as well. You also don't have to worry as much about repeat moves making meter growth hard, which is a good thing because the move variety, it's slightly better only than from the last game. You only have normal strikes, grapples, grapple strike moves, moves on and off the turnbuckle, etc. Well, there are some more moves to be had in all fairness. Because ladder, cage, and Hell in a Cell are now featured, you can now do moves off and with ladders and cages, which is nice. On top of that, there are actual grapples that can be done on the turnbuckle that don't register falsely as a strike. The game's pace also has moved away from a methodical pace of the N64 Aki games, and it's more like the PS2 SmackDown games. On the whole, a lot of what made the first game a pain in the ass to play has been removed or fixed for a much better experience. There are still some inconsistencies, like enemies being a bit faster than you in some instances, but for the most part, these are very few and far between and don't impact the experience on the whole. Raw 2 plays much better than Raw 1. To further reflect this, the controls have been slightly reworked. You'll notice in Raw 1, the black and white buttons were not used at all on the controller. Here, they are. White is now used to pick up weapons and objects, and black can be used to tag your partner in and out of tag matches. Black is also now the default action button for entering/exiting the ring, climbing ladders and cages, etc. B is also now the dodge/counter button. Taunts are mapped to the right analog stick like the SmackDown games, though there is no block button anymore. The turnbuckle/rope controls pretty much remain the same, with the exception of black being used in place of P where applicable, and there are now attacks off the second rope. With grapple moves, you now actually have heavy and light grapples. After grappling, press A for heavy and X for light. B for grapple is now the release button, and black is used in the Irish whip. When running out of the ring, use black instead of B. Y is now the pin button, and the combination is now A plus X when you're able to do your finisher. Anything else not mentioned pretty much remains the same. On the whole, the controls are better here because the buttons are more unique, and things that were previously mapped to the same button has less of a chance of misfiring depending on where you are, like taunting and pinning no longer being on the same button. Plus, it just feels more like the SmackDown games, which I prefer, but still keeps its own flair here. Countering is still a little bit inconsistent, but what are you gonna do? The graphics are also an improvement. You see this right away in the models. They have more details when it comes to muscles, other body parts, the ring gear, etc. It's not a huge noticeable leap, but little things here do help. It's mostly little things though here. There's not a major leap of improvement, seeing as how the original game was already an impressive looking one, given it was an early window title for the Xbox. One of the big new things here on display are the improved facial animations. The animations better match what's going on in the ring. For example, you put a submission on someone and their face will reflect the pain they feel. The entrances also benefit from this. It better reflects the wrestlers' personalities during the entrances. Stone Cold's rebel nature, The Rock's cool nature, etc. All of this is well reflected. Animations for movements like moves, walking, stuff during the entrances, etc. are also better. They look less robotic than before. Because of the new arenas, there is now more variety in the environment, especially with the randomly generated backstage areas. Many of these do reflect what you see on TV, and they all look good. The arenas also look very good. Ropes look good and move in accordance with what happens in the ring, like bouncing off of them. The models for the ring, objects around them, are rendered well with little to no aliasing. And they pretty much reflect again what you've seen on TV from around this time. The crowd though, well, the front row people have more animations and look slightly better than before, but still not quite good. The further they are, the worse they get. It is what it is. Still, the game looks good, and Zebu makes it look better than ever. The sound design is what you would expect. You should recognize most of the music from two other WWE games around this time. Here Comes the Pain and WrestleMania 19. The in-house rock music serves its purpose as simple background filler for the match. The only exceptions apply when there are events going on. These use different music cues that can sound grand and dramatic, or the standard fare. Most of the wrestlers' themes are here, but some like Matt Hardy's version 1 theme are missing in action. You can actually restore these themes in the Create mode, as it does allow you to edit existing wrestlers. That includes themes via the custom soundtrack function on real hardware. Any music that's on your Xbox, the game will detect when you're selecting music, you can pick it, and that's it. You're good to go. Music overall, it's fine. Sound effects also fit their role well. Weapon strikes, all other attacks, bump sounds from wrestlers being thrown into barriers and stairs and tables, oh my, slammed on the ring mat, all of this sounds fine and fits the confines of the game. Menu sounds and all other miscellaneous sounds all sound good. There isn't really much voice acting to speak of other than the ref counting. And even though there are 4 selectable referees in-game that, well, give you some differences of how they're going to make the count and what have you, they all kind of sound the same, but whatever. It works. That's all I can say about it. In terms of replayability, the only thing to go back to season mode for is the costumes and entrance videos for the CAW mode. By stealing from a particular person in season mode, you'll earn costumes for the CAW mode. Then the third time, you'll earn an entrance video to watch in theater mode. Playing through season mode normally unlocks the pay-per-view arenas and earning CAW points. And seeing the different results that can happen in season mode depending on your actions can be enticing. Although it can be tedious trying to get every entrance video and every item unlocked. Raw 2 puts things more in line with the SmackDown games, both gameplay-wise, while still having the Raw 1 feel without the bad, and design-wise with more modes and the like. The game benefits heavily from this. It looks better, sounds good, controls better, has a decent amount of content, and it just feels like a more improved version of Raw 1. Plus, the ability to select your ref during the match is a nice novelty. However, not all of the gameplay quirks have been ironed out. Unlocking the video/costumes can be tedious, and there's not a lot of major improvement, only minor improvements. I mean, given how similar it is to the first one, I guess it's not that much of a surprise. But still, if you enjoyed Raw 1 or want the best WWE game on Xbox period, get this one. It goes for about $20 complete. It's backwards compatible with the 360. It can be fun with a party or at a party with friends like many other wrestling games. And you know what? I had a good time wanting to actually get through it for the most part at least. I didn't get that feeling with Raw 1. If anything, it just felt tedious at times. And while there is some in some aspects here, the actual gameplay itself manages to pretty much avoid this here. Although things can still get hectic with multi-man matches, but at this point I've kind of come to just accept that, you know? Still, if you want the best WWE game on Xbox, get Raw 2. I give Raw 2 a 3.5 out of 5. And then there was one WWE Xbox game left, folks. Oh yes, folks. That one. But not quite yet. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe below and check out the playlist on screen for more content. To help support the show beyond the usual means, check out my Patreon and Ko-fi on the link tree in the description. And come by my Twitch where I conquer my backlog one game at a time. See you in the next video.